Okay, this is going to be a big challenge for me. This is going to be a big challenge for me. I'm going to try to do something quickly, as everybody keeps telling me I'm too slow. But I've got 58 books that I've finished so far this year, and I'm going to go through each of them and tell you a little bit about them. Okay, let's get started. 58 books that I've started and finished, not the ones that I started and didn't finish. Okay, let's go. The Automatic Millionaire by David Bach. I got his name misspelled right here. I got David Bach, it's David Bach. Basically, it talks about 401k and IRA. Basically, that's the thrust of it, is that you invest through your 401k and IRA, and that's how you get rich. It assumes that you have a steady job for your entire life, a steady corporate job for your entire life, and it wouldn't work for me, but it'll work for somebody. Okay, number 2, How to Draw What You See by Rudy Lorena. Very helpful book. This is an awesome artist. I've gotten some techniques from him, such as drawing still lifes, and I even went out and bought another brush so that I could do some of the brush work, like he said, like he showed in the book. I think I'll buy this book later on. Okay, Global Leaders in Islamic Finance. I'm so glad that I read this book by Emi Abdul Alim from January 5th to January 10th. Very informative book and very, very wise people. It goes through the book and it profiles some leaders in Islamic finance, which is basically halal finance, which is finance which is in keeping with the Quran. Alright, so Global Leaders in Islamic Finance, that's number 3. Number 4, Star Wars Into Darkness. This is I believe this is what the Wrath of Khan was made from, because this is the first Star Wars novel in which Khan shows his face. So I think this is what the Wrath of Khan was made after. I'm not sure though, because I don't remember seeing that movie. And number 5, Stan Lee's How to Draw Comics by Stan Lee. Very, very long-winded book, and it's got a lot of advice in it. It's more of a showcase for artists than it is a how-to book. So I've read a lot of how to draw books over the years. And is this one that I would buy? I think so. Okay, Capital, number 6, Capital in the 21st Century by Thomas Piketty from January 19th to January 29th. Very long book, very helpful book. It got me into, I was looking for another book that I read back in college, and I picked this one up. This one was written much later, and it talks about the flow of capital, in particular why the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. That's what the thrust of the book is about. And yeah. Number 7, the crowdfunding book by Cliff Enico from January 31st to February 3rd, 2017. It's about selling securities over the internet, and you need to have qualified investors, professional investors. You have to have you have to be a qualified, you have to be qualified to sell securities, and you have all these qualifications. It doesn't really apply if you're just like a regular person with a Kickstarter account like me. So because I'm not selling securities, I'm selling the gift, the the perks or the rewards that go with the Kickstarter. I'm not selling shares in the company. So this is a book about selling shares online, and yeah, it's not what you're looking for if you just want to get started on Kickstarter. Dominion by Shir Masamoon. Very, very manga-like. I like how it is. It's very manga-like. Yeah, that's all I have to say. It's very manga-like. Not very serious. You know, a lot of stuff happens that shouldn't, but it's very manga-like, very entertaining, and yeah. Complete French Grammar by Annie Hemingway from February 25th to November 11th. It took me a really long time to finish this one, and oddly enough, the easy stuff is in the back of the book, and the hard stuff is in the front of the book. So that'll keep you occupied for a while. Finance Your Business by Entrepreneur from February 5th to March 4th. I've always had trouble with getting finances for my business ideas, and this is a book that teaches you. I've always had trouble with money, and this is a book that teaches you how to get money, where to get money, and yeah. So Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell from February 9th to March 5th. This is a book that I wish I had read before. The Wealth of Nations was a big disappointment, but this book really teaches you the basics of economics, and it's a must-read if you want to be more civic-minded, and if you want to make the right decisions about who to vote for and things of that nature. So basic reading. Okay, Advances in Electronics. I'm sorry, I can't read that one yet because I haven't finished the book yet. The Narrow Road by Felix Dennis from March 7th to March 20th, 2017. It's a book about getting rich, and one of the things he says is that you have to be willing to endure lots of humiliation in order on your road to getting rich, and that's definitely true in my case. The Grand Slam by Mark Frost. This is a book about Bobby Jones, who most people consider to be the greatest golfer ever. Well, many people consider to be the greatest golfer ever. He had a better record in his professional career than Tiger Woods does today, and he died a very gruesome death. Yeah. The Best American Short Stories by The Best American Short Stories 2016 by Junot Diaz from March 17th to March 21st. There are a lot of stories in this book that I enjoy. In particular, there's this one about these people are going to this snow resort, ski resort. These two women are going to the ski resort, and there's something strange about the ski lodge there. They found out something strange about the ski lodge there. And number 16, Winning Grants Step by Step by Mem Carlson from March 22nd to March 30th. Very short book, but very long read. It teaches you, basically how to write a grant. And I've never written one before, but I could, with some more training, I could try to write one. Writer's Market. This is the first year that I ever read the Writer's Market, and I read the 2017 version this year. So that's listed as March 22nd. You know, it's a reference book, so I didn't put an end date for as far as reading it. Well, it's a book that I'll read periodically, so I'm not going to read it cover to cover, and I'm not going to stress about it. It's not even at the library anymore. So yeah, Writers Market 2017, or basically the whole Writers Market series. I started reading that, so that's listed as March 22nd, and it's got a lot of helpful articles, and it's got a big reference for agents, publishers, writing competitions, things like that. Very helpful, and I should use it more often. Uncle Sam Can't Count by Burton W. Folsom Jr. and Anita Folsom from March 23rd to March 26th. That's number 18. What can I say? It's got a lot of helpful stories about how capitalists went out against people who are the profit-minded capitalists went out against people who are just working for some sort of vague ideal. So you have to the idea of the book is that you have to be a profit-minded capitalist if you want to have the best chance of success. And yeah, so that's number 18. Number 19, Novel and Short Story Writers Market from March 26th. So yeah, I read a lot of articles in that book. I'm more of a fiction writer, and the mainstream writers market is geared towards nonfiction writers and article writers. So, but I will be doing both, Okay, the award by Danielle Steele from March 28th to April 1st. I finished this entire book in 4 days. I really don't like Danielle Steele's writing, but if I want to be successful as a writer, I have to emulate those who have been successful before me. So I'm starting to read a lot more Danielle Steele. I just bought. I showed in a previous video. I bought Past Perfect, which is Danielle Steele's latest novel. I got it on sale at Target. Yeah. So I'm going to start reading a lot more Danielle Steele and analyzing her work, figuring out how I can get such a big following that Danielle Steele has. And the Literary Book of Answers by Carol Bolt from 328. This is also not a cover to cover book, so I don't have an end date for reading it. Basically, I don't want to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a literary book of answers. It's a book that I recommend that you get. But if you're going to get the book, you have to read the instructions on the back first before you open it. Don't open it until you read the instructions on the back. I can't spoil it, but that's it. Okay. Alexander the Great by N.G.L. Hammond from April the 1st to April the 20th. Very information-packed book, and it goes through all the battles that Alexander the Great went through as a kid, and all of his generals and his close confidants. And it really got me on this whole Mesopotamia, the whole Mesopotamian history thing. I was going through a whole Mesopotamian phase, and yeah. So yeah, Trigonometry Demystified by Stan Gibilisco, from April the 1st to September the 19th. And it took me years. It took me years to finish this book. I bought this book at Borders before it closed down in my neighborhood, way before it closed down in my neighborhood, and I just got around to finishing it this year. It talks about, trigonometry, all the stuff that I learned at high school and then promptly forgot about. So it talks about sine, cosine, tangent, hyperbolic cosine, arc cosine, and it also has a section where it talks about the uses of trigonometry, which is very helpful. And it's got a lot of quizzes in there that you can test yourself on, so you can learn faster. Okay, Your One Word by Evan Carmichael. I bought this because I read it from April the 4th to April the 6th. I bought this because I was really involved with Evan Carmichael's YouTube channel. And he was able to sell me on the book, and it's about finding the one word that defines, your enterprise, the one word that defines what you're about, what you're going for. And so that's what the book is about. And The Boat Rocker by Ha Jin. Very, very entertaining book. Very sexy sort of, very sexy and interesting book. And there was this one section there was this one line in the book that made me just laugh out loud. I forgot what it was, but it has a curse word in it, so I don't want to say it anyway. But anyway, Ha Jin is a very famous author, and I believe I read A Free Life back in 2016. So yeah. Morning Star by Pierce Brown, from April 13th to April the 20th. It's about this futuristic space hero, sort of like Luke Skywalker, but not quite. He's more of a rebel. Well, okay. Luke Skywalker was a rebel as well, but so he's similar to Luke Skywalker. Anyway, I picked up the third book in the series. I forget the series name, but the last book in the series was named Morning Star. And so it's about this futuristic space hero who's a rebel and stuff like that. And it was sort of a cheap ending. It was a really cheap ending, but number 27, You Have to Be a Little Crazy by Barry Moltz, from April 17th to October the 20th, October the 26th. This is a book that I've read multiple times in my life. It's not the book that I've read the most in my life, but it's getting close to it. And I've read it 3 times so far. I read it for the first time when I was in college. And basically, it talks about, if you want to be successful, if you have an idea that you want to be a business person, then you have to be a little bit crazy, because who in their right mind would take less money with more work and more risk and less time with family just to say I have freedom. It's a contradiction, but yeah, that's the thrust of the book. And let's see, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Let me write the name of the author right here. This one happened to be sitting in my library, and I picked it up. I read it, and then somebody else checked it out, and then I had to wait for a while for it to come back. So, anyways, I'm glad that I finished it, because it's no longer at the library. Anyway, it's a very informative book, and one of the things he said is that if you're not willing to work for free, then you'll never be rich. And I never thought of it that way. It's like I was shunning the whole volunteer scene because I saw it as being exploitative, But yeah. And number 29, I'm gonna leave off with this one. How Computers Work by Ron White. With my first from April the 22nd to April the 28th, with my first Kickstarter, everyone was saying that you don't know how computers work, and the truth was that I didn't. So I was like, eventually I'm gonna have to get this book, and I'm gonna have to research how computers work, and that's what I did. Very helpful. It gives you a timeline of the history of computers. It gives you these graphical representations of all the different computer components. Especially helpful were the sections on the CPU and the graphics card. Those were especially helpful, and it even has a section on how inkjet printers work. And that's it for now. It took me about 15 minutes or 20 minutes to do this, so it should take me that long for the second half. I've got about 29 more to go. Of course, I'll be finished with one more book by that time, so it'll probably be 30 more to go, or possibly 2 more books if I can get back to the library. Okay, so that's it for this section. You know what? I'm gonna read the 30th. Because number 30, Debt by David Graeber, from 5/1, from May the 1st to May the 7th. Basically, it talks about the history of debt and how it didn't always mean what we mean today. They did have debt presence in the past, but they also had debt forgiveness. And there's all these different ideas and systems based around debt and what debt is, what people owe each other. And some people say an eye for an eye. Some people say things of that nature. So yeah, that was Debt by David Graeber. So I'm going to do the second half of this next week, and maybe I'll have 2 more books finished, and we'll see about that when it happens. Okay, have a nice day. Goodbye.